Happy Sunday morning, everyone. Andy, Corbin, and Steve from WagerTalk, SportsMemo.com. Welcome to the Road to Billions. We got 3 NFL best bets. We got your player props. We got your alt lines and same game parlays and anytime touchdown scores. We have to get right into it because we have a lot of weather issues today. So before you make your bets, make sure you check the weather. I always check at Roto Grinders, and Atlanta and Carolina, this weather is fairly new, at least to me. I haven't seen it in the last couple days. It looks like it's going to be raining all game. Winds around 15 miles an hour with gusts up to 25. Ugly, ugly game, it looks like. Chicago and Cleveland, it looks like it's going to be wet and a little bit windy in the first half. 15, 20 mile an hour winds with gusts up to 25, but by the second half, it should be clearing up a little bit. So not as bad as the Carolina game, but definitely some weather there. We talked about the Miami game. It looks like the wind is going to slow down just a little bit. It's still going to be sustained winds of 15 to 20 mile an hour and gusts up to 30, 35. So a little bit of wind issue there, but definitely not as bad as it was a few days ago. Dallas and Buffalo. It looks like it's good. There's going to be rain in the area, but it may not hit the stadium, so I think we're pretty good there. Baltimore and Jacksonville, buckle up. 50 to 60 mile an hour winds at the start of the game. Yikes. So what's happening is it looks like there's a storm that's moving through, and that wind is going to be heavy pregame and at the very beginning. This says lingering into the game, gusts of 40 miles an hour. So just, man, the beginning of that game could be very, very difficult to pass the ball. I would say Carolina is going to be the one that is affected the most. Then probably Chicago and Cleveland, because you're going to get probably a half of wet and windy. And then Baltimore, Jacksonville, pretty windy. So keep your eye on the weather and just, tread carefully on that one. And then let's go over some injury news. Quite a bit going on. Let me pull up here what we know so far. Here's what we do know is Amari Cooper, Jerome Ford, Rashid Shaheed, Taysom Hill, Dalton Schultz, Dalton Kincaid, and Tyler Higbee were on the injury report. They don't seem to be on the report now, and they are expected to play. This is Adam Schefter on Twitter. Aaron Donald was added to the injury report yesterday. That's bad. That's always a bad sign. Tutu Atwell is unlikely to play. Brandon Cooks is likely to play. Michael Wilson and Marquise Brown are expected to play. Olave is a true game time decision. That is a bummer if you're in the fantasy playoffs. Darren Waller is back. Hallelujah. Thank God we have Darren Waller back in our lives. Jamal Williams is expected to play. DJ Moore is expected to play. Nico Collins is out. Noah Brown is expected to play. Chris Godwin is expected to play. Aaron Jones is expected to play. And breaking news, guys. Aaron Rodgers is likely to be medically cleared. We get more Aaron Rodgers news, so this is fun. And then the big one is Tyreek Hill. True game time decision. He's going to test it out in warm-ups. Not much you can do with Tyreek Hill. I would be stunned if they even put out lines on him. So, and the Texans are going to be starting Case Keenum. Steve, did you even know Case Keenum was in the league still? I didn't. I'm like, this guy, hasn't he been in the league since we were kids?
Yeah, he's been a journeyman for quite some time now. I knew he was still lingering around, but yeah, I didn't expect him to be starting at this point.
Yeah. So, wow, Case Keenum's back in our lives. So, all right, well, let's get into it. Steve, real quick, I know you got a promo code. You want to tell me about? You're doing really well in NBA. So go ahead and let everyone know what you got going on.
Yeah, we're on a 10-3 NBA run, so you guys can use the code hoops50. You get $50 off any 30-day basketball package. You can get it for NBA. I'm also doing college basketball player props, so you could get it for that as well. Or the best way to do it would be to just get both. You can get both in one for the cheapest price. You get $50 off using the code HOOPS50, HOOPS50. And we're on a 12-5 all sports run right now, 10-3 NBA. So check that out at sportsmemo.com.
All right. Corbin and I don't have a whole lot going on at Wager Talk today. Our 5% play started yesterday. We already had 3 NFL games. We'll have a Sunday pack up, so if you want to grab all those plays and you haven't gotten them yet, but all access clients, keep your notifications on because we'll have plays coming in throughout the day. So, all right, guys, let's just go ahead and start jumping into the passing props here. I did not like really anything with the touchdowns. Corbin, do you like any passing touchdown props today?
No, I don't like playing passing touchdowns, quite honestly. I just have passing yards mainly. So
Steve, any passing touchdowns?
Yeah, I wish I had something as well, but I mean, I was kind of looking a couple different directions. Maybe the, I was thinking maybe the Mahomes under 1.5 at plus 130. I think that the Chiefs are going to struggle to score in that one. I think that's going to be a lower scoring game. That one, I strongly considered that one just a lean there, if anything, and maybe I could maybe look towards Levis at over 1.5 at plus money, but I'd just be afraid that Henry vultures one of those touchdowns or a couple of those TDs and stops it. So there's nothing that I'm going to get to the window with as far as passing touchdowns. Not for today, at least.
Yeah, bad day for passing touchdown props. All right, passing yards. We'll start with Chiefs at Patriots. Bailey Zappi 193, Mahomes 255. Steve, you mentioned Mahomes. Are you liking unders in this game?
For this one, I'm liking unders for some other things. I'm actually looking towards
Okay.
Mahomes to throw an interception, but the yardage isn't. Mahomes. I mean, we talked about this one last week with the Josh Allen. We talked about each of them throwing an interception. It was like plus 200 or something like that.
Yeah,
I mean,
plus 220.
Mahomes has thrown a pick in 9 of 13, 6 of his last 8, 9 of 13 on the season. Patriots defense has been very strong recently over the past 6 weeks, and I think this is going to be a low scoring game. I would look towards his way for a pick.
All right, passing yards here. Jets and Dolphins. Corbin, I like Tua under. The wind earlier in the week was going to be way worse than it looks today. I still kind of like this. I don't know what we're getting from Tyreek Hill. You went out on a limb. You took Zach Wilson, and
Yeah.
you did. Congratulations, he looked great. You gonna go back to him, or are you staying away from this one?
I am going to go back, but in a slightly different way. I'm not going with his yards. I'm actually going to go with his passing attempts. Not sure what the number is now, but it was over 28 and a half passing attempts when I checked it earlier. He's over in 5 straight games. The Dolphins, I expect to be up in this game. Even if Tyreek Hill doesn't play, I think they're going to have too much on offense for them still. And when they played just a couple of weeks ago, Boyle had 38 pass attempts. So really anything over 30, I'm going to probably consider taking with Zach Wilson. So
Nice. Yeah, looking at 29.5. Steve, you like any passing props in this game?
No, this is a pass for me for this game.
Giants and Saints, Derek Carr, Tommy DeVito, the talk of the town, the talk of the NFL. 178.5. Steve, you like any of these guys?
No, this is a pass for me as well.
Corbin?
I don't. I was looking at DeVito unders actually. He's done well recently, but this Saints defense is really good against the pass. I think they're going to have more success running the ball with Barkley this week, but I can't get there at those numbers. I feel like they're correctly adjusted. So
Texans and Titans. Corbin, you and I have kind of behind the scenes we've made fun of each other. I love these quarterbacks that there's no film on. I was big on Easton Stick. The joke was I was big on Easton Stick to go over. Corbin was like, absolutely not. There's no way we're going to bet on somebody like Easton Stick. We don't know anything about him. He's unproven. And then Corbin fires a play on Nick Mullins.
okay, I will say there was some logic to it in my head in that I have never heard of Stick in my life. I have no data on him at all. At least Nick Mullins, I know somewhat what I'm getting, and he came in last week and did pretty well. So
it's all right.
There is some logic there.
I get it. I've done extensive film work on Nick Mullins myself, so I get it.
Easton Stick only went over by 70 yards on his passing ones. So
It didn't look like it in the first half. I wish we could get first half passing lines because
it
there's quite
wasn't
a
a
few.
first half bet. It's a full game bet. They get 4
Yeah.
quarters.
And he sucks for
Um,
most of them.
I don't need him to be awesome in all 4 of them. Case Keenum and Will Levis. Man, some of these quarterback matchups. What are we doing here, guys? Case Keenum and Will Levis. So Steve, I don't know. What do you think about this one? Are you going to play anything with Will Levis?
No, I can't go back to this guy. It's just if I pick over, he's going under, and if I go under, he's going over. So I know I mentioned him in the passing touchdowns. It was just the plus money that I liked about it, really. But yeah, I'm staying away from this one as far as passing props personally.
Okay.
You just can't trust Will Levis. As Steve said, the weeks we've played him to go over, he's been awful, like under 200 passing yards. You take him under and he suddenly flies over. So who knows? I was looking at Case Keenum under just because I simply don't trust him, and I think they're going to have to run the ball. Both teams are, I feel, going to run the ball a lot more here. But yeah, I'd probably stay away.
We got the Bears and the Browns. This weather was kind of surprising for me. I like Joe Flacco on his pass attempts. Let's see what they are now. His pass attempts on Flacco. Yeah, they're still at 34.5. I like it. He's thrown the ball 44 and 45 times in his 2 games. I guess maybe the weather might concern me a little bit, but their running backs are a little bit banged up. I still think they're just going to rely on Flacco to throw the ball a ton. So I'm still okay with that play. Steve, you like any passing props in this game?
No, this is a pass for me on this one.
Corbin?
I'll mention it when I get to my same game parlay. I've got stuff involving Flacco, so.
Falcons and Panthers. We got weather here. My best bet involves Bryce Young. Steve, do you like any of these passing props?
Yeah, I know you're going to talk about it, but I would look towards the under on Bryce Young based on the weather and the Falcons' pass defense. I know you're going to talk about it more in your best bet, though.
No need to talk about it now, Steve. Buccaneers and Packers. Corbin, Baker Mayfield and Jordan Love. You like anything in this one?
I like Baker Mayfield under 218.5. The Packers actually have a really good passing defense. I think they rank 8th actually. He's gone under in 3 straight, and I think they're just going to be better off running the ball here. Rashad White can have as many yards as he wants, just running straight through us. They really don't need Baker Mayfield to throw. I think Jair Alexander might be back, but even if he's not, we've got quite a few guys that are decent in the passing game defense wise, so that's where I'm looking. I don't want anything to do with Jordan Love though. I can't understand the guy. So
Steve, you like any passing props, Buccaneers, Packers?
Pass for me on this one as well.
So weird. It's December, it's at Green Bay, and the weather's going to be like better than in Florida.
Yeah.
Like you would rather have your fantasy players in that game than in the Florida one. 49ers at Cardinals. Steve, we're going back to Brock Purdy on any of these props, or have the books adjusted these? Do you like any of these plays?
I'm actually looking at Kyler Murray in this one. I'm going over in his passing yards here because the 49ers have a banged up pass defense. I don't think they're going to be able to run on them very effectively. And since he's come back, he's essentially went over in this total. He's went over in 3 or 4 games actually. So, he just cleared it one of the times last week against Pittsburgh. He didn't have to throw quite as much, but give me the over on Murray for his passing yards this week.
This was my second play for my best bet. I love Kyler Murray over. I love that it's off of people's radar. You would look at it and go, oh, you can't take an over when they're playing the 49ers, but 49ers have given up over 230 yards passing the last 3 games. They give up 222 per game on the season, and a lot of it's in that second half. Just the garbage time. They get up big, and there's the quarterback that they got abandoned the run game, so they end up passing. I'm with you, lockstep, 100% on Kyler Murray over. Corbin, do you like Purdy or Murray? Any of these passing props?
I have no opinion on Murray. I did like Brock Purdy, but the problem is the Cardinals' defense is so bad that I could see McCaffrey just running through them. So in that case, do they need Brock Purdy to even throw. It's one of those where I feel like he could have a great game and still just throw for like 200, 220. I don't think he quite needs to get to the 250 or whatever it's at the minute. So that's where I'm at with that.
Commanders at Rams. Corbin, you like Stafford or Howell?
I don't. I can't. I don't want anything to do with Stafford at the minute. I still don't know what's really going on. He had that weird stretch where he had some really good matchups, like against bad passing defenses, and he just didn't have any kind of success. So no, I'm gonna stay away from both of them. So
Steve, you like any of these passing props?
Yeah, I actually have two here. I like Stafford over his passing yardage. He's went over. They've allowed 8 of the last 10 quarterbacks to go over this total. Commanders' pass defense is the bottom of the barrel basically in the league, and I think Stafford actually. I watched a lot of that game last week, and Stafford actually looked pretty good. I don't think that thumb's bothering him too much anymore. Nakua looks good. Kupp looks good. I think all three of those guys are going to feast against this Commanders pass defense, and then it's a old favorite Howell over passing attempts. He's just consistently went over this number all season long, again and again. I think he's going to be playing. This is a shootout, in my opinion, and he's going to be playing from behind, in my opinion. So he's going to be having to chuck the ball plenty like he normally does.
We got the Cowboys and the Buffalo Bills. Boy, I can't get there with Cowboys props because they're not at home. And it's a little bit nippy, and I don't trust them. So as much as I was on Dak Prescott and the Cowboys last week, I'm not going there. So, Corbin, do you like either of these guys passing props?
Not really, no. I was looking at Josh Allen. I was considering an alt line on him with something else or his pass attempts. Not quite sure what that pass attempts number's at anymore. But they just seem to throw the ball so often. I think it's going to be a shootout. I think Allen's going to have to throw the ball. So maybe his pass attempts is where I would look.
All right. Steve, you like any of these guys? Prescott, Allen?
And both numbers are just seem just right to me, so I'm going to lay off on this one.
Ravens and Jags, now that we know it could be 50-mile-an-hour winds to start the game. I got Trevor Lawrence under. Right, I know he played last week. I'm not a believer that ankle is 100%, and this is just a brutal matchup against maybe the best defense, at least the top 3 defense in the league. So I think they're just going to make life really, really difficult. Tough to pass, tough to throw on the Ravens. I like Lawrence to go under here. I think the Jaguars are crazy for playing him again. They messed it up big time last week. They played him and they lost the game. It was a double whammy. I think they're going to do the exact same thing here. So, Corbin, do you like either of these guys, Lamar and Lawrence?
I don't. I can't. If I had to lean, I'd go with you and the Trevor Lawrence under. I can't play Lamar Jackson throwing props because he just has some games where he just throws for 140, 160, doesn't really need to do anything. And then was it last week or the week before they had that bad weather game? We all expected them to just run the ball, and he ended up going. I think it was against the Chargers. I think he went for
It
like
was last week where he had over 300 yards. You're
it's
like,
crazy.
what?
Like it makes no
Like,
sense. So yeah, for that reason, I'm staying away. So
Steve, Ravens, Jaguars, any passing props?
Totally with you. Before even the weather, I was looking at Lawrence based on the injury situation. Ravens giving up they're the 4th best pass defense. They're coming into last week, they were only giving up 200 yards a game through the air. This total seems really high, and we know how physical Ravens games can be. It could be a situation where he doesn't make it out of this game. Let's hope that doesn't happen, but. Yeah, I like his under a lot today. And then you throw the weather in there, and you got to love it at that point.
Let's move on to receiving props. Chiefs at the Patriots. Steve, do we like any of these receivers, or do we want to take unders?
Yeah, I'm looking at Devontae Parker under 32.5 receiving yards. He had his best week of the season last week, but this is a tough Chiefs pass defense, and Douglas is back in the mix. I think that Parker is going to draw a lot of attention, so I'm going under 32.5 receiving yards on Devontae Parker today.
That's weird. The Patriots props are down at the time of recording this. They'll be back up. Don't panic. So sorry about that. Just time of recording, they're down. Corbin, you like any receiving props in this game?
I've got two props that I'm looking at in this game. The first one I already mentioned, which is Travis Kelce. It's actually gone down a yard, so I had it at 66. It's now 65.5. Mahomes just doesn't trust his other receivers. They're going to have to score somewhere. Pacheco's obviously not playing, so that takes away one of the offensive weapons. His last three games, Kelsey's heated up. He's getting a lot better. So he had 83, 81, and 91. This total is a lot lower than it has been in previous games, so I may take that spot and take Kelsey over 65.5. And then the other one is Ezekiel Elliott over his receiving. I think it was at 19.5. Not sure if that's whereabouts it still is. Zappy was checked down central. They had quite a few good plays with Elliott coming from the backfield. I think he's had 40 and 72. The Patriots are going to have to put up points somehow against the Chiefs. So I think that may be the route that they go.
With you 100%. I can't wait for that line to come back up. That was love Zeke over there. What he's at, 40 and 72 yards last couple times, last 2 weeks. So completely with you on that
I
one.
wonder how long, because I feel like it's just the quarterback change that's really helped that, and the fact that Stevenson's obviously not playing. I wonder if it'll take a couple of weeks for them to adjust. I'm surprised they haven't already bumped it higher than 19, quite honestly. So
I'm with you. I was really surprised. I know that they can be slow to bump some of these receiving yards, but it was almost one of those where it's like, God, do they know something that I don't know?
yeah,
Should I be worried about this one? But Jets and Dolphins. Of course, we're not going to get any. We're not. I don't think we're going to get any Dolphins props until we know about Tyreek Hill. So, Steve,
yeah.
do you want to do anything with these Jets receivers?
No, too many question marks on this game, so I'm staying away from it right now.
No Jeremy Ruckert props, Steve. Come on.
No,
No.
I'm laying off Ruckert this week.
This week. Been riding Ruckert, but this week's a pass. Oh, Corbin, anything to do with this game?
No, as I said, I'd rather just take the Zach Wilson pass attempts than try and work out who he's going to get it to. So
Yeah. Okay.
yeah.
Giants and the Saints. Steve, anything we're doing with this game?
Not from a receiving. Yeah, I don't have anything for receiving in this game.
Corbin?
I don't have anything. I was looking at Wandale Robinson. He had quite a few good games in a row, but the problem is the Saints' defense is so good against the pass. And do I really trust DeVito at this point? Still not really. If it was any other matchup other than one of the top 5 passing defenses, I would have gone for it. But I just can't do it this week. So maybe Kamara, back to Kamara. I haven't followed him in the last couple of weeks, but we know that Carr likes to check it down to him. I don't know how he's been doing the last couple of games, but seems a lowish total on first glance. So
I kind of like Wandale Robinson. He's the consistent guy for DeVito. So 3 catches, 4 catches, and 6 catches the last 3 weeks with DeVito. And actually, if you want to go back another week, 2, 3, 4, and 6. So getting more targets has gone over in 2 out of 3 games as DeVito's been coming on. So Texans and Titans, a lot of weirdness going on in this one. You got Case Keenum as the quarterback. Noah Brown's in. Nico Collins out. Steve, do you want to do anything with this Texans team, or are we only looking at the Titans?
I'm actually looking at Schultz here as a safety blanket for Keenum, over 33.5 receiving yards. He's went over this in 6 of his last 7 full games, with in games where he hasn't had to leave because of an injury or something like that. And they're missing Collins, Dell, and I just think that Keenum is going to be utilizing him as a safety blanket in this game.
Corbin, you want anything in this game?
Noah Brown was the interesting one. When I checked earlier in the week, I didn't have a number on him. It seems really low. This is another spot. He's only recently coming back from the injury. 38.5 isn't that high for him if you look at what he was doing earlier in the season. The problem is the quarterback. Obviously, it's not CJ Stroud anymore, so that may put me off. But that total itself is a lot lower than it probably should be. So.
Chicago Bears, Cleveland Browns. I don't have anything receiving because I'm just gonna keep it simple and I'm gonna stick with Joe Flacco. So I don't have any receiving props. I totally like in this one. Steve, do you like anything?
Yeah, it's a pass for me as well.
We'll move on to the Falcons and the Panthers. Unders across the board in the the pouring rain, Corbin.
Yeah, I was looking at the unders, but the problem is these totals are all so low that it
Yeah.
really doesn't take an awful lot for them to still go over whatever the conditions. Like you could look at Thielen and say under 42.5, but he's their only real receiver. I'm expecting the Falcons to be ahead, which then leads to Young throwing the ball. And then if I'm looking on the Falcons side, it's Drake London to go under, but he's had real success the last couple of weeks. So yeah, all the numbers are kind of low enough. There's like, it's not. I can't really get there with any of them. So
Steve, you like any receiving props in this game?
Yeah, Corbin just mentioned Thielen under. I like that a lot just because he's gonna draw the number one. He's gonna draw Terrell from the Falcons. And we know that's going to be a tough head-to-head matchup. Then you throw in the weather, and on top of that, he's went under this number in 4 of his last 6 weeks. His receiving yardage, his receptions might still be there, but his yardage has gone down significantly since earlier in the season. The weather, tough Falcons pass defense. Give me the under.
I have a quick question actually, just to butt in on that. Would you, Steve? Would you be interested? We've mentioned it earlier in the year in the Bryce Young like under longest reception or longest pass, or a Thielen under his longest reception. If we have weather issues and we're not expecting him probably to throw it deep, do you have any opinion on those?
Yeah, I mean, I think you could also look towards Thielen's under his longest reception. I mean,
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, it would be probably a great look, especially like you said with the weather. I'm not sure exactly what the number is off the top of my head, but that definitely sounds like a good look. Especially, I like him under 42.5, so I have to like him under his longest reception.
Exactly.
Adam Thielen's longest reception. Wow, it's only 16.5. They're ahead of you guys.
Yeah.
The books were thinking the same thing. Oh man, that sucks. I like Drake London under his home road splits are staggering. He's much better at home. So is Desmond Ridder. I think there could be a chance that Desmond Ridder doesn't even throw the ball 17 times today. I think this is Tyler Algier and Bijan Robinson all day long. Why would they throw the ball in this mess? So, and honestly, if there was a team built for a pouring rain game, it's kind of the Falcons. Just control the ball, run the ball, run the ball, run the ball. If there's a team that's not built for it, might be the Panthers and the rookie quarterback. Buccaneers and the Packers. Boy, Wicks really stuck it to us with his injury last week. Corbin, you going back to any Packers plays?
I was looking. I don't know if you can pull up the Jaden Reed receptions. He's our only real threat that's consistent. I think Christian Watson's still out. Dobbs just seems to drop the ball or just go missing. So it really doesn't actually leave us with that many options. We're going to have Aaron Jones coming from the backfield. If they put out an Aaron Jones receiving total, I'd be very interested in that. Other than that, Jaden Reed's the only real one that we can throw it to. So he's going to probably get double coverage, and then some random player's going to have to step up. But yeah, I 4.5. I can't quite get there on that. So maybe Tucker Kraft. But other than that,
I will tell you one thing I love about Jaden Reed is whenever they run that stupid end around, except they like Jordan Love kind of pitches it a little bit forward, and it's kind of a handoff. But it goes down in the books as a pass. I think he had like 2 of those last week.
The jet sweeps. Yeah.
Yeah. The Packers, the patented jet sweep where they get inside the red zone and they're in field goal range.
And then do it to go backwards.
And the only thing that you can't do is take a 9-yard loss and they run a jet sweep end around where the guy runs 15 yards backwards and then gets tackled out of field goal range. I think they did it 3 times last week.
Oh, it's great when you have their team total over, just to watch them get in the red zone and go backwards. Always great for a team total.
Like the drive 60 yards down. It's like, now we're gonna trick him with the jet sweeps. Like nobody's tricked. You do it every time you get to the 25-yard line. Every time. It literally, in their notebook, it says, when you cross the 25-yard line, the next play is an end around for a loss of 8. Anyway, I've digressed. So Buccaneers, Packers. Steve, do you like any of these receiving props?
Yeah, I considered Jaden Reed over as well, but it's funny you guys bring that up because it was the running plays where he eats up some yardage on the ground sometimes that kind of scares me off of it. But they are short-handed, so you kind of look towards Reed or Dobbs, one of those two guys you got to figure is going over today with those low numbers.
49ers and the Cardinals. Boy, they don't have Marquise Brown up. It looks like he's going to play though. I like Kyler Murray to go over, so I would. If Marquise Brown prop comes out, I would take the over. Trey McBride, maybe 49.5, but if I like Kyler to go over, you know what? I take that back. I like Kyler Murray to go over. Steve, you like it too? Why mess with the receivers? Just take the quarterback, for him to get over there. So, as far as the 49ers go, Steve, do you like any of these guys?
Yeah, I don't have anyone on the 49ers. You could maybe look towards Debo, but that would be just a lean. I agree with you just wrap up Murray. It's such a low total for Murray that I feel like that's the best route to go in this game is just take Murray's passing over, yardage over.
Yeah, Corbin, you like any of these receiving props?
Not really, for the same reason that I mentioned I didn't like Purdy's passing yards. I just don't know if they're going to throw the ball. I think they can have so much success running the ball that I just don't know if... I like Ayuk every other game, and ordinarily I'd go Cardinals awful defense. I'm sure Ayuk's going to go over. But at 70.5, I don't know if it's going to be that competitive for long enough, quite honestly. So...
Yeah. Commanders at the Rams. I didn't mention Brian Robinson in the injury report, but he's been out. He's been ruled out for quite a while. So I kind of like Antonio Gibson. I might even look at Antonio Gibson rushing plus receiving. I mean, he's the guy. He's just going to get all the looks, but maybe a look at 25.5 on this one. So if we like Sam Howell to throw the ball a lot, I think we have to look maybe towards Terry McLaurin. I can't say it's a very strong opinion on that one, but Steve, do you like anything in this?
Yeah, I think Stafford's going to be throwing it a ton today, so I'm going to talk about Kupp is my favorite one in this one. I'll talk about that more in my best bet, but I like Nakua to go over too. I think both guys can get there today in this game against this defense with totals in the mid to higher 70s. Nakua has at 84 and 105. I'm convinced Stafford is right now. We were worried about the thumb 2 or 3 weeks ago, but last week he had no problem throwing it on the Ravens. So give me Nakua's over and Kupp's over, Stafford's over. I love all the overs in this game for passing as far as the Rams go.
Corbin, any receivers you like in this game?
I still can't get there with the Rams. I feel like if you're going to play, you kind of have to nail it on with who's going to go over between Kupp and Nakua, it feels like. I don't like both of them at these high totals, and I can't pick one of them, so it kind of leads me away. I was looking at some of the Commanders overs, actually. I wrote to look at the Curtis Samuel, the Jahan Dotson, and the Terry McLaurin, but I find it hard narrowing it down to just one. Similarly to what you were saying before, maybe I just go back to the Howe passing, because all three of them could have good games and still not go over their total, quite honestly. So it's kind of hard to pick a couple there.
I mean, Tutu Atwell's not a big name, but him being out, he does get targets each game. Pretty decent little weapon, so you would think they filter even more to Kupp and to Nakua. Cowboys and Bills. I don't know if I can get there. I saw Stephon Diggs under. Stephon Diggs was a machine, and now he's an under. Did you guys see his quote where they asked Stephon Diggs about his production? He was like, "Yeah, everyone's double teaming me." And last week they were like, "We didn't double team him, not once." I think this is a tough secondary. I don't know. That's the only one I'm taking. I just don't trust this. I don't trust this Cowboys team on the road. I don't. So they beat up teams at home. Congratulations, but I'm going to be completely out on them. So Stephon Diggs is the only receiving prop I like in this one. Steve, what do you like?
I don't have anything, not a specific guy in this game that I like on either side necessarily. It's a pass for me, but I'm curious if Corbin, you're going back to Shakir's over this week after that.
I knew that was coming.
We went head to head last week, and I see he had 1 for 12 last week.
Ugh,
So I don't know,
yuck.
halfway there.
Yeah,
I'm just joking. I'm just joking.
no, I deserve it. Yeah, I'm not going back to him here, even though this will probably be the week he goes over. I actually have one strong opinion, and it's James Cook over 21.5 receiving. I was looking at whether I want to play Russian receivers. Someone that had Cooks last week to go over his rush attempts, and they just threw it at every possible opportunity, and they just ignored the rush, even though he was having success. I think they're going to do that even more here. I don't know if they're because the Cowboys, I think, are still going to put up points. I'm still not sure on this Bills defense. Cook's recent last 3 games, he's had 29, 57, and 83 receiving. So I think he's in for a big receiving day. I prefer that to the Russian receiving just because of what I mentioned before, that I don't know how much they're going to run the ball. They should, because he had great success running the ball, but for whatever reason they just go away from it constantly. So
But it is ridiculous. I was going to talk about him in the rushing, but yeah. Ravens and Jaguars. Are we doing anything with receivers in this game, Steve?
No, it's kind of like we talked about with Murray. I'm just going to wrap it all up into one and go with the Lawrence under his passing yardage instead of trying to figure out which players on the team are going to go under. I don't like any individual players necessarily.
Corbin?
I have two somewhat plays. Evan Ingram receptions, if they're going to be down, which I think they just get it to Ingram so often. I don't know what his number is. I normally take a alt receptions because I think they put it out around 4.5, and I
Oh, he's
really
five
like
and a
it.
half this week. Five and a
Oh,
half at minus 130. Wow.
yeah, yeah. I like him.
Wow.
He's had 4 exactly on so many occasions this year, and I know because I keep going back to that as part of a alt line parlay. So definitely can't get there with 5.5. And then the second, which I'm ruling out because of the weather, was I was going to go back to Odell Beckham's longest reception, but I just can't play any longest receptions in this kind of weather. But he's been catching a lot of deep balls. He's looked a lot better the last couple of weeks. But yeah, with the weather, I just can't get there anymore. So
All right, let's talk about some rushing props here, and then we'll get to our best bets. We're going to have our alt lines, our same game parlays, and our anytime touchdown scores with the pay dirt
did you want
parlay.
to mention the Eagles game? I had a strong opinion, or do you want to save that for later on?
It's tomorrow.
Oh, we'll say okay. I'll do it tomorrow
That's
instead.
the Monday show, Corbin. Monday Night Football's a Monday
Okay,
show.
I've choose the play I love for Monday Night Football then.
Tune in Monday to see Corbin's play that he absolutely loves.
I definitely
Rushing
deliberately did
yard.
that.
Rushing yards, Chiefs and Patriots. Wow. Clyde Edwards-Helaire is 50 and a half. Give me the under all day long. This is a Patriots team that has allowed 56 yards total per game the last 3 games. And we're thinking the books are saying Clyde Edwards-Helaire is the guy to get over 50. Ooh, no, I'll take the under. So, Steve, you follow this Patriots team. Do you even know where this resurgence on the running game defense is? Where did this come from? This is like the best rush defense in the league.
It's amazing that just across the board defensively. I mean, not just the rush defense. I mean, they're holding quarterbacks under numbers as well. I mean, they lost so many good players earlier in the year. You know what I mean? They took a step back for a while, but it seems like they figured out Belichick's figured out a way to get the guys that he has left to gel together. And I'm with you on Helaire, Clyde Edwards-Helaire going under that number. Mahomes is an interesting one here now at 21 and a half. I know I was all over his over rushing last week, and I was wrong. He only ran the ball once for 8 yards, although he had so many chances. I watched that game. He had so many chances to break, and it makes me think that the game plan was for him to not run, to protect him and not run, even though they were playing the Bills in a critical matchup. And, it makes me think to look back, Patriots great against the run. He didn't want to run last week. He only carried the ball one time, so you'd think go right back to the under. But I'm afraid with him when he's elusive in that pocket, and if he just breaks one, so I'm not going to go either way on Mahomes today. But I would go a layer under 50 and a half.
Looking at Jets and Dolphins. Darn it, Corbin, they're gonna hold all these Dolphins player props out until they know what's going on with Tyreek Hill. So
Yeah.
unfortunately, we can't do much with Mostert and A-Chain, right?
Yeah, I was going to go back to A-Chain. I think he's cashed the last 2 games for us since back from injury quite emphatically again. He was on my shortlist I was waiting for. Maybe we'll get a late play, but I sense that the lines are going to probably come out too late, if not at all. I was looking at Brees Hall under. It was at 44.5 now, 43.5. I don't see them running the ball here. I think they're going to have to throw the ball, and he's gone under in 5 straight. So not quite sure if he's right or if they're just having issues or because they're down so often most of the time. But it's also the problem with the Brees Hall under is that it's such a low number. It's not even like in the 50s to have it
Yeah.
at 43.5. He could easily break one for like 20, 25 yards because he has that speed. He has the ability to do that. It's just whether he can get over enough times to get to that total. So I was looking under on him.
Giants and Saints. Steve, you like any of these guys? Kamara, Barkley, DeVito,
It's a pass for me on this game.
Corbin?
Barkley, I was thinking of going back to Barkley on his rushing just because I don't think they're going to have much success throwing the ball. So I think they may run it some more. 65.5. I can't quite get there on the total, but I think he is going to run the ball quite often. So
This Tommy DeVito number is like doubled from last week to this week. The books are not going to let you. They're not going to let you take advantage of a soft number on the DeVito rushing numbers.
yeah.
Interesting. Texans and Titans. Steve, do you like any of these guys?
It's a pass for me on this one as well.
Corbin, Texans, Titans running backs.
Well, we mentioned it last week when I said I liked the running game of the Texans. I think was it against the Jets last week? I think it was.
Yeah,
and
it was.
yeah, and we couldn't
Yeah.
quite. I said we couldn't get there with one because I couldn't pick between Singletary and Pierce, and Singletary had way more yards and carries than Pierce, but I need to see it for another week before I nail it on. If it's exactly that again, the like carry split so much in Singletary's favor, then I expect he would go over this 48.5 because I also then don't know how much they're going to throw the ball this week. But again, without knowing what's quite going on in that running back room, it's kind of I still a bit cautious about picking one over the other still. So
Bears and the Browns. I mean, you got Deontay Foreman numbers, Justin Field numbers, Khalil Herbert numbers, and Roshan Johnson numbers. It's like, why don't we just put them all out on the field at once? Let's have 4 running backs and Justin Fields there, and like just have all the receivers go back to the bench and have a cup of hot chocolate. Steve, I can't. Well, just let the running backs do all the work here. Yeah, Bears. I don't know. Bears at Browns. Steve, any of these running backs you like?
Yeah, I'm gonna go Foreman under 42.5 here, just because of what you said about them going to going to be running back by committee. You know what I mean? And then you on top of it, you have Fields. Stealing. I don't want to say stealing, but taking carries away from the running backs.
how dare
Running
he steal
backs
those carries?
running backs away. And I just think when Foreman's the lone back, he would get there, but in a committee situation, I think you go under with Foreman today.
You know what's funny is when we say committee, normally we mean like 2 running backs. They've got like 4 of them.
I know.
It is a true committee. Corbin, do you like any of these guys?
No, for the same reason, there's too many options. But I will say, interesting enough, my book has this. I think a few others do. They have a team's total rushing yards. You
Oh,
can
there
get
you
the
go.
Bears just to rush for 140 as a team. I feel like that's better than. I feel like collectively, with all these bodies, they will get over 140 rushing yards here. But I don't know what kind of combination and split it's going to be. So, yeah, that's where I would look with that.
Falcons and Panthers. For me, it's pretty easy. I would do a same game parlay on Tyler Algier over and Bijan Robinson over. It's rain. I think Desmond Ritter is not going to throw the ball very much. I think this is a nightmare game for the Panthers. That's where I would go with this one. Steve, you like any running backs?
Yeah, I'm on the other side of it. I like the Panthers guys. I like, first of all, I like Bryce Young over 11.5 rushing yards. He's went over in 4 of his last 6. Falcons' strong pass defense, so I think that he's going to have trouble finding receivers, so there's going to be points where he has to break away and run. And I'd also look towards his attempts at over 2.5. He's went over in 4 of 7, and that's for the same reason is that when they do try to pass, I think he's going to have trouble finding open receivers, so he's going to have to break away, and then there could be designed runs as well. And I'd also look towards Hubbard over his rushing with the weather today. He's went over in his last 2. I mean, he managed 104 against a stout Bucks defense just a couple weeks ago. So give me Hubbard's over, Young's over rushing and rushing attempts as well.
Like it. Corbin, you like any of these guys?
I kind of share all of your sentiments. I like almost all of these guys to go over. The only one I
Makes
have an
sense.
issue with is Algier, just because I don't know if he's going to get enough carries. I think he should, but the whole Cordell Patterson thing still has me slightly worried. Patterson only had 3 rushing attempts last week, so slightly less concerned. But if I had to pick one, I'd just go with Bijan and Chuba Hubbard, even though I'm not a particular fan of his.
Buccaneers and Packers. Rashad White, 70.5, but makes sense. Corbin, you like his over?
Yeah, I was actually gonna alt total this down to around 50 because it was at 75.5. So it's actually quite a surprising move for me to go from 75.5 to 70.5. 5 yards swing in potentially, I think, the wrong direction. We just have no run defense. We give up an average of 141 and we rank 31st in the league against the run. We can't defend the run. So that's where I would look.
Steve?
Nothing for me in this one.
49ers and Cardinals. I feel like Christian McCaffrey, 85.5 is the obvious play of the day. Sometimes they hit. So, I don't know. Steve, what do you think about these rushing props in this game?
I don't have a lot of big feelings on this one. I would maybe lean towards the Connor under, but just because the 49ers have a strong run defense, but nothing really more than leans for me in this one, though.
Corbin?
I was looking at, I don't know if you can go to the longest rush attempt, but for Christian McCaffrey, I think he's easily going to break a deep one. He does it nearly every game. I would almost prefer that to just his collective yards. I feel like he's going to have
It's
to.
just only 18.5. Boy, that's low, huh?
Yeah, exactly. He has so much speed and he just gets so many carries that 18.5 really isn't a ton. So that's where I would be looking. So
I like that
And
look. That's a good.
McCaffrey got the job done on the anytime touchdown last week at negative 375. He's right there again this week. And Kyron Williams joins. Kyron Williams is over negative 300 now, too, this week.
oh, wow.
Kyron Williams is? Oh,
yes, that's
wow.
wild.
Wow.
I
We're
was
talking
just
about him.
I was just going to say,
Yes,
I was just
Corbin.
looking at McCaffrey's longest rush. So last week he had one for 72 yards. The week before, just 16. The week before that, 27. And the week before that, 19. So it's very possible that he goes over that longest rush. So
I mean, look at this number on Kyron Williams. 93.5 on Kyron Williams in the Washington Commanders game. Yikes. I kind of like Antonio Gibson rushing and receiving, but I'm not gonna front like I'm actually betting it. I'm not, but it's a look. But Commanders and Rams. Steve, do you like either of these guys? Gibson, Williams,
No, it's a pass for me in this game.
Corbin?
same. The Kyron Williams total is so high that I almost want to take
It's
under.
insane.
I was wondering also, Steve, you mentioned previously you expect Stafford to have a good time throwing the ball. Do they really need to run it that many times for him to get to 90 whatever yards? If we think they're going to throw the ball with so much success, why would they need to run it this much?
Yeah, obviously they think it's going to be a mix of both with such a high total on Williams. But I just think that if you look at the Commanders, they've been giving away so many points that everyone could get there in this game. You know, it's like 40 plus. It's like 40 plus on a weekly basis. I know they're coming off the bye, so maybe they tighten things up a little bit. But yeah, I'm more interested in the air stuff. And you're right that the 93.5 for Kyron does seem pretty high. I'd have to lean under on that one as well. And Maybe even look towards the Howell over rushing. We know he gets there all the time.
Yeah.
Cowboys and Bills, James Cook, rushing and receiving, 76.5. I love this one. They've been using him a ton. He's gone over 100 yards rushing and receiving in, what, 4 straight? 5 straight? Whatever it is. They changed the play calling, and he's been a monster. Corbin, I know you soured on him because of the rush attempts, and it was ridiculous what they did with him last week, but he still had, like, almost 60 yards rushing. He was a monster in the receiving. He's kind of their utility guy. Against this Cowboys, I think they're going to lean on him as well. I think the Cowboys are like, I think we can take away Diggs. You never know who they're going to throw the ball to and who they're not going to throw the ball to. But I do know that James Cook is going to be heavily involved. So I love the 76.5 rushing plus receiving. So, but just rushing attempts in this game. Steve, do you like anything?
A slight lean towards Pollard's over rushing. He's cleared it in 4 weeks in a row. It's just a lean on that one though. Nothing that I'm going to get to the window with.
Corbin, do you like any rushing props in this?
Not really. I know you just mentioned about James Cook. As you said, I'm scared of taking anything rushing just because they just should run the ball, but they just don't. They find a way to just mess around and end up throwing it. I will say, I feel like you could still put Tony Pollard under some alt numbers just to give you a bit of breathing room. I mentioned him last week. You could get him at like alt under like 92. So if I think that's still available as a parlay piece. That I still think that's a great one, but I can't get there on his normal total.
Ravens and Jaguars. This is an interesting one because the Jaguars horrific pass defense, but wind early in the game. And then you got, Trevor Lawrence. Somebody did point out that when Trevor Lawrence has a bad ankle injury, he ends up going over his rushing total, which is ridiculous. It just seems to happen. I don't know. Steve, do you like rushing props in this game?
Not completely, but I would look towards maybe just because of the weather. I would look towards maybe Jackson. He takes advantage of his speed. He had 70 just last week against LA. But just to lean on that one, I would lean towards going Lamar over 48.5 rushing yards.
Corbin?
You mentioned it. If I had to go anywhere on this board, it would actually be to Trevor Lawrence rushing, just because I feel like he's going to have a few issues throwing the ball in the weather. All he needs is a couple of tuck and runs. Like 13 and a half is really,
is low.
It's really not that big. I'll have to look up how many he had last week quickly. But if not, then we like the Ravens to rush quite a lot. But the problem is, would you pick Mitchell or Edwards or Jackson or like all of them? It's kind of hard to pick a few here or there.
Them and the Bears.
Exactly. You could easily take, I don't know, I can look it up as well, the team total, if they have a team rushing total on the Ravens, if you give me a second.
So Lawrence rushed 3 times for 11 yards. You know what? He's gone under this the last few games. 3 for 11, 5 for 8, 2 for 0. What's hilarious is when he had that ankle injury against the Saints, that was his biggest rushing game of the year. 8 for 59, including a 26-yard run. I remember that. So
if you were interested, the Ravens team rushing is actually at 141. So it's still not that high considering how much we think they're going to run the ball. So could look at that as an option.
All right, let's go through a couple. We'll do the alternate universe, same game parlays, and the anytime touchdown scores. So Corbin, I will start with the same game parlay plus money. I'm with you on this one. I know the weather's a little bit wonky, but it doesn't look like it's going to be that bad for the entire game. So walk us through this one.
Yeah, so typically most of my same game parlays are not plus money, quite honestly. But this one, I just had the 3 parts and I really like them all together. So we have Joe Flacco to throw for 200 yards. We mentioned that we like his normal total, so I love it even more at this alt total. He has 254 and 311. So obviously he's throwing the ball quite well. The one problem I have is that I don't know if he's going to throw as much here. He's had quite a lot of attempts. But then I look at the path to victory, and the Bears are 23rd versus the pass and 2nd versus the run, which leaves me to believe Flacco's still going to throw. And with the alt total at 200, that's still 54 yards less than his lowest of the 2 games so far. That gives us a bit of breathing room. The second is Njoku to have 3+ receptions. He's done it in all but 2 games this year. He's had 6 targets at least in 8 straight. And quite a few of those, he's had like way more than 6 targets. There's one where he has like double figure targets. So I like him to get 3 receptions. It's not really a lot here. And then the final piece is Elijah Moore to go for 25+ receiving. He's just gone over in 5 straight. He seems to be one of Flacco's main weapons. So I'm going to wrap all of that up for plus money this week.
Love it. Let's talk about the alternate universe. The Dolphins bit us last week with the Tyreek Hill injury, but let's look at this week. Yeah, we're taking teams all getting points here. So walk us through these.
Exactly. So as I will mention, I actually like Falcons and Ravens particularly to win outright. So to get 7.5 just seems great to me. So the Falcons plus 7.5 versus the Panthers. Panthers have 1 win all year, and that was by just 3. Mentioned the weather. It's all going to suit the Falcons, in my opinion. The Falcons have covered in 7 straight, whether they win or lose. They still plus 7.5. They have far more to play for in this situation. I just think they're better all round than the Panthers, who just seem like a dumpster fire at the minute, quite honestly. Ravens plus 7.
How dare you insult dumpster fires like that? Like that.
This is even worse. Jesus. Then we have we have the Ravens plus 7.5.
It was a long night last night on Takedown Live. Okay.
I'll forgive you. The Jaguars just look really wobbly. We mentioned we like Lawrence to go over. The weather's going to help Ravens, particularly here. I feel like Trevor Lawrence is still injured, in my opinion. He doesn't look great. The Ravens are on fire. The Jags have lost their last 2. Jaguars did win their last head-to-head recently, but only by 1. And Ravens have covered this in every game. So that's why I'm going to take those 2. And then the final one is the Buccaneers plus 10.5. This is the one I feel less sure about out of all of them. I really love the first 2. But the Packers have so many injuries. Christian Watson, Wick's out injured. I think Aaron Jones is back this week, but he's still going to be taking it light after another hamstring injury. The Bucs have covered in 7 of 8. The only one they didn't cover 10.5 to was the 49ers, who beat them by, I think, just slightly over that. I think they still covered. I think you can get an alt total of like 14 or 17. I like that as well because I think they've covered that even versus the 49ers. The Packers haven't covered this spread in any of their last 5, and they're just so inconsistent. We mentioned them just randomly coming up with these bizarre plays as soon as they get to the red zone, but Jordan Love didn't have a good game at all, and they still managed to just about scrape over the team total for us last week. I just think the Bucs have a good enough defense, enough. Rashad White is just, as I mentioned, just going to run through us, so I don't think they're going to have any problems with that. So I'm going to put all 3 of those together.
They were play calling last week, Corbin.
It was painful. It was a painful watch. I was screaming at the TV on multiple occasions.
So we had all we needed them to do was get over 16.5 team total. They would just drive down. It was like, oh, it's a good looking drive. It just bang, shoot ourselves in the foot. Bang, shoot ourselves in the foot. It's ridiculous. Play calling. I mean, between them and the Bills, just infuriating.
I was rooting you guys on in that one. I was rooting you guys, but I was dealing with my own misery of watching the Dolphins watching my bet evaporate before my face. And the Dolphins go up by 14. They get the first touchdown to cover what I needed. They needed them to win by 7. They get the first one, and I'm like, all right, just hang in there. They get that second one to go up by 14, and I'm celebrating. Oh my God, they could score one here. we'll be all set. They just got to milk the clock. Nah, 2 touchdowns. And then Vrabel, nice enough to go for that 2-point conversion, too, to mess up the number, even if they could have stopped him on the second one. So I was happy for you guys, but I was dealing with my own misery that night.
It was brutal because I was doing the same thing. Like with 2 games going on at the same time, like we have a play on one, we have a play on the other. You're watching the Manning cast, which is a train wreck, by the way. Talk about a great idea that's completely fallen off the rails. I watched it because it was so awesome at the beginning, and now I watch it because it's so bad, it's funny. And I get a good laugh out of it.
I'm with you.
It's
I'm with you. It
terrible.
was fun the first season. Yeah, the first year was great, but it's really went downhill big time.
Isn't it awful? Isn't
it's
it
brutal,
really, really bad?
Yeah.
Yeah, we had the Tyreek Hill alt total, so I was equally watching the Dolphins game with pain with that one. You have to feel if he stays in the game for the whole game, they win by.
They win.
They probably covered the
cruise.
spread. They sort us all out. So
They were going to torch him if he stayed in the game. They went through him like a knife through butter in that first drive. They were going to torch him if he was healthy throughout the entire game. Completely different Dolphins offense. Yeah, God, I'm sorry.
No, you're good. Anytime touchdown scores, Steve. Speaking of Dolphins, we like Raheem Mostert, right?
Yeah, and a lot of that has to do with the Hill injury and the A-chain also being banged up. So, but Mostert's been a touchdown machine all season long. He's leads the league in touchdowns. He's scored in 10 of 13 games. Jets pass defense is really strong, so I think the way to get to them is through the ground. And with Hill banged up, A-chain banged up, let's go with Mostert here at a still a decent price. It's not negative money, so we'll go with that one. My favorite one of the week is Hopkins. I love the rapport that him and Levis have together now. They look great together, and he has 6 touchdowns all season, and Levis has thrown every one of those touchdowns. He scored in 3 of his last 4 games, and I love a revenge spot up against his old team here. So this is a little bit of a revenge spot as well. Going to Cooper Kupp, he scored in his last 2. I'm confident that Stafford looks better now. He's on target with his receivers, and he's looked great the past couple of weeks. And he's facing the pass defense that Commanders have given up second most passing touchdowns to opposing wide receivers. And I think Kupp, he's a smart receiver, so he's going to be able to find his way through a weak pass defense like this. He's going to find open spots, and I see him finding the end zone again this week. Jaden Reed has scored in 4 of his last 5 games. Buccaneers, we know they're not very good against the pass, and they are good against the run, but that's the traditional run. That's running backs. He's more of a gadget player when he runs, so I'm not sure that they'll be necessarily – I'm sure they're going to be prepared for it, but I'm not sure they can stop it. And my favorite 3 guys this week are Mostert, Hopkins, and Kupp. We'll wrap all 3 together at plus 900 and hope to cash another pay dirt parlay this week.
What was that stat on Jaden Reed again?
4 of his last 5.
Wow. You're getting at plus 145 with no Christian Watson. And wow.
Yeah.
That's a great one, Steve. That's a really good one.
He's getting looks out of the backfield as well. So.
Oh, we know.
Yeah.
We are very aware of that.
You've seen him.
We actually saw it 3 or 4 times in that game, as we mentioned. So I think the Bucs might be slightly aware of what's going to be coming. Yeah.
It's a great one, Steve. I love that look at plus 145. I think that's great. So, all right, guys, hit the thumbs up. Tell us what you love at your best bet in the comment section below. Let's get to our best bets. I'll go first. Mine's pretty easy. It's just weather and talent related. Bryce Young under 172.5. He barely gets to these numbers in the good weather. I think this could be a Atlanta Falcons run the ball 50 times, and I don't see how he passes for 172 here. The number seems a little generous. I'm not sure. He doesn't complete long passes in the good weather. They don't trust him at all. I can't believe that they would trust him in the rain. I think this is a very, very sloppy, messy game for the Panthers, so I'll take Bryce Young under his passing. Steve, going back to Cooper Kupp, you talked about him. You're all in on it. Love it. What do you like about him?
Yeah, and I love that Young under passing look as well. That's a great look. We talked a lot about Kupp and the Rams today, and I just love facing off against this Commanders pass defense. almost any team that's faced him this season has carved him up, and I see a lot more of that today. Like I said, I think that Kupp he's going to be smart enough to navigate through that pass defense and find different openings where other receivers might not. He had coming off a huge week last week, 8 for 115 and a touchdown. I think that Nakua could go over as well, but give me Cubs over at 77.5 for this week as my best bet.
Corbin, the oldie but goodie. What do you like about Josh Allen?
Quite simply, I'm just going to keep riding it. 9 straight he's gone over this. And it's not even all of them are just bad throws. I remember we had the one that we actually had as an official play where he just went for a Hail Mary at the end of the first half. Competitive game. Cowboys defense has been good for takeaways and interceptions this year. So I'm just going to keep riding it. Simple as that. Competitive game, expecting him to throw a lot. And I think he always just throws a wobbler in there at some point. So
tip passes. It's crazy. He's like the number one fantasy quarterback, and he's thrown an interception in all but 2 games this season. He's just a turnover machine. So I'm with you completely. So, all right, guys, that's going to do it for us. Good luck on all your plays today. Don't forget to hit the like button, leave us a comment. Steve, give us that promo code one more time for your basketball plays. I know you're on a sick 10-3 NBA run.
Yeah, 10-3 NBA run, and the code is hoops50, and you get $50 off any 30-day pass. I would suggest getting the package. It's that where you can combine the college basketball player props with the NBA. Just get all of the hoops for a month, and you get the hoops code. The code is hoops50, HOOPS 50, and you get $50 off a 30-day pass over at Sports Memo on my page right now.
Love the college basketball player props. Untapped market. Love that you're exploring those. So, all right, guys, that's going to do it for us. Good luck on all your plays today, guys. It's going to be a pretty good day of football. I know we had 3 games yesterday, but I think we got some really good bettable games. Remember, don't overexpose yourself with too many units. If you had a good day yesterday, let's protect those profits. If yesterday was a bad day, let's not make the problem worse. Let's just take it pretty easy. So, go ahead and grab our Sunday pack at WagerTalk.com. Steve's at SportsMemo.com. We'll see everyone later, and I will be with you guys tomorrow on Road to Millions, where we'll recap the weekend and see how everything went. So good luck today. See everyone later. Bye.
good luck.
Good luck.